welcome back to another video. As promised, I am trying to get back into my routine, so here is the video for this week. We are starting off with putting a second coat on this tumbler. It is a 22 shaker from Craft Haven. I believe it was a 22 shaker. It is a shaker cup. So, um, in all honesty, I kind of lost the footage of when I first started glittering this. So, let me just explain real quick what I did. I used some chalk paint to paint my tumbler white, and I applied the glitter with some Mod Podge, and now I am applying my second layer of glitter after that first layer of glitter dried, and I used a dry brush. So this color I believe is called Shadow Blue from Maestra Creations. I will have it in the description if you guys like this color. Um, so today, as you can see by the title of this video, we are creating a Western brushstroke tumbler, and I have created another brushstroke tumbler, but I put those brushstrokes towards the bottom of the tumbler. So for this one, we are actually going to put them in the middle of the tumbler. If you would like to check out the other video, I will have the little icon video thing on the right hand corner of the video. So after that, I am epoxied my tumbler, and I am going to be using the kit designed by Dixie Darlings in the Southern Belle glitter. So that big sheet was a rip-on transfers and then obviously some foil. And I am going to be using 3 different colors of glitter along with that foil. So for the glitter portion, I am going to be using my Mod Podge to apply my glitter. So I am going to go darkest to lightest. So these are the 3 colors I am using. This red glitter is from a company that is no longer, like, it doesn't sell glitter anymore. So I can't link that one below, but feel free to use whatever colors you guys like. I just kind of took inspiration from the foils. So, like the colors that were on the foil, which were like these turquoises, the browns, the reds, kind of just playing around with how that is. So, before I start, I am going to clean off my tumbler, and I am going to start off with my red glitter. This is Benjamin Parker, I think it was called. I don't remember exactly what it's called. Um, so I am just kind of doing little flicking motions when I apply my Mod Podge, because I want that effect of a brush stroke on it. And yes, even though this is a chunky glitter, you can still kind of see it with the finer cuts that it has. So that is what I did here. So I am just kind of, as you can see, flicking my wrist, and I am going to be doing this in every color. So also, as you can see, since this is a chunky glitter, I am going to use my finger to tap down some of that glitter so that it's not as chunky when I go to epoxy my tumbler, and I don't have a lot of like little pokey bits or like little sinkholes, I guess you can call them, um, that your glitter kind of just like glides over it, and it's not, your epoxy glides over your glitter and it creates like these little dents, kind of like fish eyes. So I guess they would be fish eyes. So after I let my red color dry, as you can see, I am going to tap off any excess. Once this dry, I am going to go in with my turquoise, and I believe this is Lazarus syndrome from the Glitter Pharmacy. I believe that's what it's called. Um, Again, I will have the colors that I can put in the description, I will put those in the description. Alright, so once I finish applying all of my colors, I am going to put a layer of epoxy, and now I am going to just cut off a little piece of this foil, and I am going to start putting some brush strokes in the foil glue that Southern Belle Glitter sells specifically for the foils. So I'm just going to be repeating the same little flicking motion that I did with my wrist so that I can create that same brushstroke effect that I used for the glitter brushstrokes. So I am also going to kind of map out where I want my little foil pieces. So that's kind of why I'm just twirling around my tumbler before applying the foil. So um, it doesn't take super long for this glue to dry. So it is kind of like tack it. If you haven't used tack it, it's just like a tacky glue that remains tacky once it's dried so that you can, create that little buffing glitter. If you didn't see my previous video, I did it on that. I also have a couple other videos. So if you want to check those out, don't forget to check those out. So this glue is actually a little bit more liquidy than tack it. So you do kind of want to be careful with how much you put on your paintbrush. So I am still just kind of like mapping out where my little foil pieces are going to go, just so that I have about the same amount of color throughout my tumbler. And then I am going to, once my glue is on my tumbler, I did kind of speed it up just by fanning my hand to dry the glue, so it wouldn't take forever, and then I just kind of like shook it out a little so that the glue could dry a little bit faster. But it doesn't take long. I think on the bottle it says like 15 to 30 seconds. I'm not sure, I don't remember, but it does give you the specific amount on the bottle of how long it takes for the glue to dry. So as you can see here, the glue kind of already looks clear. Like you can't really see a lot of the white of the glue of when I first put it down. So um yeah, after I finish doing this, I am just going to place the foil kind of randomly on my tumbler. Alright, so once that glue dried, I am just kind of going to randomly place my foils, just kind of overlapping them in certain areas. I didn't really take much care in overlapping them, although in some areas I kind of did, which is just kind of the nitpicky side of me. But I think all in all, this tumbler turned out super cute. So as you can see, I am just kind of trying to see what sides I place on this, what colors, what patterns, even though this foil does have like a whole bunch of colors. Like I didn't want to try to tie it all together to use as much of those Western elements that the foil has so that I can match it up with one of those transfers that was in the beginning of when I started this. um, so I will try to put the little kit in the description. I don't know if it's sold out or if they still have it in stock. Um, I did get it a while ago, but if it is there, I will put it in the description. This little tool came with the rub-on transfers, and I'm just kind of using it to buffer a little bit more of the areas so that it doesn't completely, you know, um, just stay on the transfer. So once I finish this, I am going to apply another layer of epoxy, and then I am going to cut this little transfer out, and I am going to kind of size it to the area that I want on my tumbler. I am also going to clean up my tumbler a little because I did get some of the epoxy on the inside rim of the tumbler. So once I have that cut out, I am just kind of sizing it, just kind of eyeballing it where I wanted this. And I am going to go in with my airbrush and just kind of create like a little rectangle big enough so that my pieces all fit, so that my transfer fits on the area that I want it on. I would have done this with a spray paint, but I ran out of the white, and the other can that I have, it is clogged up, so I haven't figured out a way to actually um, unclog the little nozzle area of my spray paint. So if you have an airbrush, this is a perfect um, alternative to the spray paint. You do kind of want to be careful. I did kind of have it run a little bit in some areas, but it's not too noticeable. And um, I do like the fact that I have a little bit more control over how big of an area I am going to use. And um, this particular airbrush and the compressor that I have it linked in my Amazon favorites if you want to check that out. And after I finish all of this, I am going to start placing my ribbon transfer. So what I did do, I did try to get it as opaque as I can. Um, this particular paint is especially for airbrush, and it is an opaque white. So you do want to be careful when you are choosing um, your paints. You want to make sure that you get an opaque paint and not a transparent paint when you are buying your airbrush paints. So after I finish that, I am going to, like I said, kind of just see how big of an area I need, and then I am going to let it dry. And it didn't take long for my paint to dry. I did kind of thin it out with a special like little liquid thing that helps the paint adhere to whatever surface you're using it on. So after that, and after my paint dried, I am going to apply my little rub-on transfer. And you do want to be careful that if you don't add another layer of epoxy like I did, I was going to add one before, but I just kind of decided to go ahead and do it. So you do want to be careful if you don't. I do recommend putting a layer of epoxy, even though I didn't, um, before you stick your transfer on, just so that if your little stick that you use to rub the transfer on does kind of nick the paint, it won't come off. I did kind of notice that in one of the areas because it happened that the little stick, especially right here, like on the P, that I am trying to rub it in, it did kind of nick it, but it wasn't too bad, so it's not going to show that much. You could probably also do this with acrylic paint. I haven't tried it, but you probably can. Um, you kind of do also want to be careful with making sure that it's not going to kind of like slip. And you also want to use pretty good pressure on this so that all of the transfer actually transfers on to your tumbler. Um, I think I had a little bit of a problem because of the fact that I didn't epoxy it. And when I wanted to lift up that little transfer sheet, I did kind of have some of the areas want to pull up, but um, you do want to be careful before just kind of going crazy and ripping that whole sheet off, just in case you do have some areas that don't lay down. So that is kind of what I did, and I did kind of take a while to actually finish removing the whole transfer sheet because I did take my time and I tried to make sure that all of my transfer was on to my tumbler before I completely removed that transfer sheet. And I did go pretty slowly in the areas where I noticed I was starting to lift up the transfer. So as you can see here, I am kind of buffering in certain areas that I am trying to make sure that my transfer is actually on my tumbler. So I think this probably would have been a lot easier if I would have epoxied my tumbler before putting on my little transfer. So I also love the fact that this little transfer has most of the elements of the foils, so they do kind of pop. So after I finish this, I am just going to slap on my last layer of epoxy, and that is going to be the whole video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. And also, don't forget to check out my Etsy shop for certain digital downloads that I have used in my previous videos of my own design. If you guys are fans of florals and pan dulce, I have a couple of little digital files that you can download for all of your creations, whether it's tumblers, keychains, bookmarks, just different creations that you may have. So, like I said, thank you guys so much for joining me in another video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.